Okay, so get this right. Someone wrote in and asked us to deep dive into, get this, whether you can really only balance an egg on its end during the spring equinox.
Oh, wow, that's a new one. Where'd they hear that one?
Let me see. It was Tech Voice 26, I think, their YouTube channel. Yeah. Anyway, they were talking about this magazine article, and get this article was from 1945.
1945. Wow, that's not exactly ancient history, but it's not like yesterday either. What did the article say?
So it was all about how apparently people in Chongqing, China, were balancing eggs on the spring equinox like it was no big deal.
Okay, that's kind of wild, like just another Tuesday in Chongqing. Did the article say anything about why they were doing it?
Right. Like, was it some ancient tradition, or were they just messing around? It did mention this one journalist, Walter Reuter, who actually
Wow.
tried it himself.
Wait a minute. He just happened to have a carton of eggs lying around while on assignment.
Well, according to the story, yeah. Apparently, he managed to balance an egg. And not just any time. The locals told him it only works at midday on the spring equinox.
Okay, now that's where things get a little suspicious. Midday, sharp, on the spring equinox. Sounds a bit too specific, don't you think?
Totally. But here's the thing. Rauter's article, as out there as it sounds, kind of blew up. It wasn't just some local curiosity. People all over the world started trying to balance eggs on the first day of spring.
You know, it makes you wonder, what is it about these kinds of stories that capture the imagination? Is it the mystery, the challenge, or maybe just the hope that there's a bit more magic in the world than we realize?
Maybe a little bit of all of that. Speaking of a little magic, guess who supposedly caught wind of this whole egg balancing craze?
Let me guess. The Easter Bunny.
Even better, Einstein.
Einstein. You're kidding. What, like the genius physicist Albert Einstein?
The one and only. Now, I don't know if he ever actually admitted to trying it himself, but the story goes that even Einstein, a mind that could, like, bend time and space, couldn't quite master the art of the equinox egg.
You know, that's kind of comforting in a weird way, right? Like if Einstein couldn't do it, maybe it's not just us mere mortals.
Exactly. It's like a reminder that even the smartest among us can get stumped by something seemingly simple. So with all these stories flying around, people obviously had to come up with explanations, right?
Oh, I bet. What were some of the more, shall we say, creative theories floating around out there?
Well, some folks were all about the whole gravitational forces thing. Something about the Earth's tilt on the spring equinox makes it easier for eggs to stand up straight. Like, the universe is giving us a free pass on the laws of physics for, like, 5 minutes.
Right, like a cosmic cheat code for egg balancing.
Then there was the whole shake the egg just right camp. Like, if you shake it enough, the yolk magically settles in a way that makes it balance.
It's like trying to win a carnival game by, I don't know, whispering sweet nothings to the milk bottles.
Exactly. And let's not forget the classic sprinkle of salt trick. Like, a few grains of salt are all it takes to defy gravity.
Right. Though, honestly, I'm more of a pepper person myself. But seriously, that's what I love about these kinds of mysteries. People come up with the most imaginative explanations. It's like folklore meets physics class.
Totally. But this is where things get really interesting. So it's not just armchair scientists and folks with too much time on their hands weighing in on this whole thing. Apparently, even the Chinese government felt the need to address the spring equinox egg balancing.
Wait, seriously, the government got involved? Why? What did they have to say about it?
Well, they held an actual press conference. Can you believe that? And basically, they defended the whole thing, saying it was a genuine cultural tradition tied to the idea of gravitational balance.
Wow, okay. I did not see that one coming. So what, did they actually believe it, or were they just humoring everyone, maybe trying to drum up a little tourism?
Right. Like, come to Chungking, where the eggs stand on end.
Talk about a unique selling proposition.
All right, so we've got journalists, armchair physicists, the Chinese government, even Einstein, all weighing in on this whole egg balancing thing.
Right, but they're all just talking about it. But this next part, this is where things get real.
Oh, it's where the rubber meets the road, huh? Who are we about to meet? Some kind of egg balancing champion.
You could say that. Let me introduce you to a man named David Eisentroll, though he's better known by his, stage name, I guess you could say, Donahan.
Donahans. Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes this guy so special? Did he, like, write a dissertation on the physics of egg balancing or something?
Well, he was a physicist and a mathematician, so he definitely had the credentials. But Donahan's, he was more of a, how should I put it, a practitioner.
Okay, a practitioner of egg balancing. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, it is. And Donahan's, he took it to a whole other level. Picture this, 1984, the heart of New York City.
Okay, New York City, 1984. I'm picturing it. Go on.
Right in front of the World Trade Center, no less. Donahan sets out to do something that, well, to this day, it boggles the mind.
Okay, you can't just drop a line like that and not tell me. What did he do? Did he balance an egg on top of the Empire State Building?
Not quite. Get this, he balanced 365 egg yolks.
Hold on, 365 egg yolks. Like one for every day of the year.
The one and only. One for every day of the year, all balanced perfectly right there on the sidewalk.
Okay, first of all, how do you even get 365 egg yolks to one place without, like, half of them ending up on your shoes?
That's the question, isn't it? But seriously, think about the patience this guy must have had. The precision. We're not talking about just setting some eggs on a table. We're talking about balancing the delicate, wobbly yolks.
It's like that old saying, you're as steady as a hand balancing 365 egg yolks in front of the World Trade Center. Wait, no one says that?
Not that I've heard, but maybe they should, because Donahan's pulled it off. 365 egg yolks, all standing at attention, right there in the middle of the city that never sleeps. You know, it makes you wonder what he was thinking, what he was trying to prove.
Maybe he was trying to, like, outdo Einstein. Like, oh yeah, I couldn't balance a whole egg on the Equinox. Hold my beer. I'll balance 365 yolks.
Maybe. Or maybe he was just a guy who loved a challenge, who saw beauty in the unexpected, in the delicate balance of things, literally. You know, for all that talk about gravitational forces and equinoxes and whatnot, Donahan's feat seems to suggest something else entirely.
What's that?
That maybe, just maybe, the true magic isn't in the stars or the planets, but in ourselves, in our ability to focus, to persevere, to make the impossible, well, possible.
So Donanis throws down the gauntlet with his 365 perfectly balanced yolks. I mean, talk about a tough act to follow. Which brings us, of course, to James Randi.
Of course, because if anyone could see through the egg balancing hype, it would be the Sultan of Skepticism himself.
Right. This is the guy who made a career out of debunking everything from spoon bending to psychic surgery. So what happened when Randi turned his attention to the spring equinox egg balancing challenge?
Well, he did what he did best. He investigated, he rounded up his eggs, grabbed his stopwatch, and I'm sure, being the showman that he was, maybe even a blacklight or two, just to be sure there were no hidden tricks.
Oh, I can only imagine Randi in his element setting up the ultimate egg balancing expose. So what did he find? Was he able to, as they say, crack the case?
Well, here's where it gets interesting. Randi, the master debunker, the scourge of charlatans everywhere, couldn't definitively debunk the egg balancing phenomenon. He ran his tests, he examined the claims, but ultimately, he couldn't find any evidence of foul play or, like you said, hidden tricks.
Wait, hold on. So even James Randi, the guy who could sniff out a hoax from a mile away, couldn't figure out how people were balancing eggs on the spring equinox. That's kind of wild.
It is, but here's the thing. While Randi couldn't dismiss it entirely, he did offer his own take on what might be happening. He suggested that, more than likely, it wasn't some mystical spring equinox energy field, but rather the physical properties of the egg and the surface it's balanced on that played the biggest role.
Right, the whole smoother eggshell and a rougher surface thing. So
Yeah.
in the end, it all comes down to basic physics.
Well, Randi seemed to think so. Of course, he also acknowledged that a steady hand, a good dose of patience, and maybe even a little bit of luck never hurt anyone.
So no magic, but still a whole lot of skill. It's like that saying, it's not magic, it's physics you don't understand yet.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes this whole story so fascinating. It's this intriguing blend of science, myth, and a touch of global culture. It makes you stop and wonder, what else is possible?
It really does. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries aren't found in some high-tech lab, but in the everyday, in the seemingly mundane. So I guess the takeaway for our listeners is, if you've got some eggs, a steady hand, and a free afternoon, give it a try. Spring equinox or not, you never know what you might discover.
Absolutely, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next Donahans wowing the world with your incredible egg balancing skills.
That's right. And if you do decide to try it out, we want to hear about it. Send us your stories, your theories, your pictures, your videos. We'll share the best ones on our next deep dive. Until then, stay curious.